I'm Shavik. I'll be your instructor for this course, and I'll be with you for a whole project that we'll be doing. We'll not only be learning here AWS data engineering, we'll be creating projects, we'll be part of a project. We'll make this course as successful as a working project. Okay, so that we'll be addressing this in our CVs, in our resumes, in our work life, and we'll be making this course as fruitful as you have worked on multiple data engineering aspects, not only one, not only particularly AWS data engineering, and mostly this course would be a little broader than only AWS domain. This will not be only AWS cloud specific things. There will be things that you want to learn as data engineers, as experienced data engineers, and as working person in a particular project, so that whenever there's some interview prep you are making, you don't need to go through this project that you'll be doing here. This course will be based on roughly 45 days of my calculation. Mostly this will go beyond that. Mostly you'll have to be here for a little more time, because there will be Q&A, and there will be Q&A completely resolved, and then only we'll be moving to the next topics. And there'll be complete personal guidance, and also some networking builds you'll get. I'll talk about you, uh, why this course you will be choosing and you will be benefited from. But I'll start with my slides. I'll give a little introduction to myself as well, and also to this course. Okay. This course would be mostly based on AWS data engineering and data analytics. I'm your instructor, Sovik, and Visualpath would be the channel that we'll be using. Okay. Currently, I'm working in this industry for 11 years as a data engineer, and I have also worked as DevSecOps, as a DevSecOps expert for multiple projects. Right now, I'm in aviation industry, not only in India but globally. So I would not take up the name, but I'm currently working here, and I know the end-to-end practices that we do. I know the end-to-end systems that we work as a data engineers. I'd be helping you create a similar project that I have worked on. And with the gist of all these projects, I would demonstrate a complete project that you can showcase and you can tell to your interviewees in a single line that this is the project I am working on. If you want to elaborate, I'd give you specifications for that as well. Okay. Done my certification as well, just like you said. Okay. So I have done two AWS certifications. One of them is Developer Associate and Solution Architect. I've worked in Microsoft Azure as well. AWS is not my only cloud provider domain. Okay. So I have done multiple Azure certifications as well. Coming into the, I have some experience in infrastructure as code as well. I would take up that those things also in this course. Don't worry about that. Mostly will not be using Terraform. If you know about Terraform in infrastructure as code, we'll be using AWS Cloud Formation. So this course is mostly on AWS side, and I'd be giving you all the alternatives of AWS as a data engineer. I'd be taking you through the real life services that we use, and why AWS is replacing them, and what services of AWS would be replacing them. Okay. Okay. Again, I have some certification in white belt. So I have been working as a security guardian for one of my projects. So I look into the cloud infrastructure security as well. I work with cloud infrastructure cost optimization as well. This would be one of the topics I would take up in every single day's class, that how we will be able to optimize the cost of the resources of the pipelines that we'll be using throughout the project. Okay. So that is one of the thing I always keep in my mind. I would want you all to be keep this in your mind, so that you'd not only be a good data engineer, but your architects, your principal engineer would also trust you with resources, right? Okay. So yeah, again, my languages, I'm mostly proficient with English, Hindi, and Bengali. I'm from Kolkata. starting with the fun facts about data engineering. Why we should be a data engineer, right? So as you know that this is booming. This data engineering thing is booming. And back in 2016, when we used to be a particular like a Hadoop engineer or a Apache Spark engineer, those things doesn't work anymore. You have to be a complete package now to get approached by great companies like Walmart, like Netflix, and all the great companies that you heard about, Mang, Fang, everything. So data engineering demand is everywhere. Mostly you'll be able to apply after this based on your experience for data engineer one, two, or three roles, and you'd be in the very beginning would be able to give them a end-to-end knowledge basis over your project, over the works that we'll be doing for next 45 days. And not only this, we'll be giving you network opportunities as well. We'll be helping you and assisting you for jobs. We'll be giving you references for jobs, and we'll be helping you for better quality projects that you'd get in those jobs. Okay. So this 90% of the world data was generated in last 2 years. This is very interesting, right? That defines itself how the data world is booming right now. Why it is important to be learning all of this, not only to be a data engineer, but a data analyst or any other job role that you'll be finding suitable for you over the next 2 months. Okay. And you'll be getting a lot of opportunities. I would show you the things that you can be and you can apply for, the roles that you'll be applying for. And this is booming, right? So by the end of 2025 it will be booming even more. Okay. And all the possibilities that companies that right now are running in big into the market, they will be consuming good data engineers, good Power BI engineers, good ML engineers, and very good data analysts as well. Data science is something also you can go from this course. So the opportunities as a AWS data engineer or the course that you'll be taking up, what opportunities you'll get? You'll get to be a data engineer if you find the data architecture very much suitable for you, the scalability, the security, then you can go into the data architect field as well. If you can understand the end-to-end architecture, if you have interest in that, then data architect is a great place to be in based on your experience or based on your aspirations that you'd be taking up. Okay. So data analyst, a BI developer, a machine learning engineer, a data scientist, a data quality analyst, a DBA. Okay, so based on the topics that aspires you the most, that energize you the most, would you would be taking up beyond this 2 months course, you'd be taking up. Okay, it's not only this 2 months or this set of projects that we will be doing, you'd be inbounded with them, right? You'd be taking up your interests going forward in life. So based on that only, you'll be getting up your roles. And my assurance is that based on this 45 days or 2 months or how long this will go, okay, you'd find any of this profession suitable for you. Okay, you'd find your interest mostly, and the job assistance that you'll get from here, the networking you'll get from here, will be feasible for you to apply into all of these positions. And coming into the day-to-day responsibilities, what you'll be having as particularly AWS data engineers is maintaining. This would be beyond this. Okay, I'm just giving you a summary of what you'll be doing. You have a very basic idea, then it will enhance your ideas. You'll be mostly working with data pipelines. You'll be mostly developing your pipelines. You'll be designing, building, maintaining the data pipelines from scratch. You'll be using AWS services like AWS Glue, Amazon Kinesis for streaming data, AWS data pipelines. Okay, and what we will give you here, we will give you a complete end-to-end scratch overview of all of the services. What services we'll give overview to, we'll be covering this in the end of our slides. Okay. Before that, there will be a complete overview of things we'll be covering, and a little bit of learning today only. Okay. So that you can get a taste earlier. Data integration, integrating the data from multiple sources. So ETL is something, extract, transform, and load is something that will be intacted in all of our days, all of our project ideas, all of our regular activity. So data ingestion, data integration, transforming them, loading them would be part of your daily activities from now on. Okay. So data quality assurance is something that you have to look into, something that you will be taking part in. Database management. Okay, so a data engineer demands you few basic things to be there. Okay, we'll be covering them up in the first 2 or 3 days of our course. Basic SQL knowledge. Okay, so our understanding about databases and working with Git repos may not be similar. Okay, maybe some of you have worked a lot of days on them. Okay, some of you have knowledge only from books, from tutorials. We would be covering them up in a mixed way where you'd be knowing the basics of all the things you require for the courses that are coming up for the projects that we'll be doing. So basic Git, basic Python, basic SQL, I'll be covering up initially. And also we'll be setting up our environments one by one day by one day for particular project needs. So as I told you, ETL processes. So every ETL process that we would be doing using AWS Glue or our custom scripts or any other services that we'll be doing, we can do this ETL process using help of nothing, just Lambda and Athena as well. Okay, so I'd be talking to you about this resources one by one. Don't get confused. Okay, we'll be covering what the name is, what Glue is, or what any other services that I'm talking to you about, what Lambda is, in very scratch and till deep. Okay, so performance tuning, documentation, monitoring, and troubleshooting, and staying updated to all the new services and features that AWS would be providing day by day would be part of your life, would be part of your project needs that will be covering up in next 3 months, and will be part of you for your entire career till day you'll be a data engineer. The services, the data engineering tools that we'll be basically using is we'll be starting with S3, Redshift, Glue, EMR, AWS, Kinesis. Kinesis would be a big part here. Okay, and Glue also. We'll be making data pipelines. We'll be integrating various AWS services into these data pipelines. I'll be explaining you about each and every AWS service that we are integrating to this data pipelines. There's a lot more to this 10 topics that I have written here. There's way lot more, believe me. I'll give you a complete overview of the services that we'll be covering up that may be coming up into your AWS certification course, and they will definitely be coming up in your AWS projects and the things that you will be working later on as AWS data engineers or data analysts. Okay, so there will be nothing that would be surprising you during an interview that what this service do. You will get a complete overview of the service. You'll at least be able to show the interviewer that you have done this much work with that service, whether they call any name out of this data engineering box of AWS. Okay. Okay. Athena, Lake Formation, QuickSight. I'd be talking about all the services. I'd be telling you not one-liners, but in deep dives. Okay. Okay. So I'll be talking about some other things as well. There is not only AWS services that we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about data engineering as a whole. We'll be working on Apache Hadoop as well. I'd be giving you an overview of Apache Spark, Kafka, Airflow, what these tools do, what are the alternatives, and where integration AWS uses them for. We'll be working with Talent, Informatica, a little bit of Snowflake as well. We'd be sharing our experiences with these services. What experience do you have before starting up every process, every project idea that we'd be mostly working in this next 3 months on 12 different project ideas. Okay, and we'll be integrating all these 12 different project ideas in a particular one single project, so that whenever you will be talking about your data engineering experience to any of the recruiters, you'll be talking in a one go. Now if a specific portion that he want to dig out, okay, so in that specific portion you can talk about your experience and the visuals that you have done. As your data factory also is there, I would give you specific scenarios where we'll be using Microsoft Azure's data factory. Glue basically does the same thing in AWS, but it is important for a data engineer to also know about similar things that we do in different cloud providers. Okay, Google BigQuery is there, Microsoft Azure Data Factory is there. Um, Ask me personally, you'd get questions on various cloud providers because you don't know where what your recruiter works on. Okay, what your references of all the cloud providers, mostly GCP, Azure, and AWS. What is the similar reference of that particular service that you can work on, and where are the similarities as your data factory, suppose AWS Glue? What transformation practices that these two do? Okay, what are the particular sources of this? So I'd be just covering up little bit of class as well today. Okay, so that you can get a better understanding how this course is going to be in a nut, giving you any AWS ideas. Okay, that would be part of your class for next 3 months. You'll heard a lot of AWS things. You'll be getting tired out of that. Okay, so today we'll be starting off from very scratch. Would be starting off as you are a very beginner in the data world itself. So it will be a data engineering fundamentals beyond AWS. So talking about data, right? So we have typically three types of data in our data world. They are structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data. Structured data. So the definition of structured data, I would give it in a short, where it is easier to do query. Okay, so you can see that in the characteristics, it is easily queryable. Okay, so structured data is basically that we would be loading in our future projects for a particular type of data store that we call data warehouses. Okay, and we would show you why we load those structured data in data warehouses and what is the particular difference between data warehouses and data lakes. I know it is now it's a bit new for you, but you would be learning about it and it would be part of your journey. Okay, so data that is organized in a defined manner or schema, typically found in relational databases, and that is structured data for you. It is easily queryable. So your SQL queries or your Athena queries would be working on the structured data very easily. You'd have as a consistent structure for that, and it would be organized in particular rows and particular columns, easily readable. Unstructured data is basically it's a text files without any fixed formats, video or audio files. It can be images, it can be emails, and word processing documents. Okay, and they are not easily queryable. But for data sets which doesn't require much attention, much transformation, that is just basically raw data, and you have to query some samples out of those raw data. We can put them in a unstructured data way, and we would be mostly using this unstructured data in our data lakes. So I would be giving you references of data lakes as well, and when we'll be using data lakes and when we'll be using data warehouses. Is there any possibility that we can use both? We can. Is there any possibility we can use lake house, if you have heard about it? Okay. So learning all of that. There is also semi-structured data, basically XMLs and JSON. We call it the way they have tabular formats and they have the headers, the contents. We call it the semi-structured data. We'll be using them as well. Okay, so they are basically separated with help of tags, hierarchy, and other patterns. All right. So talking about data, how we'll be using these data in our upcoming references of AWS, I need to take you through to the basic properties of data. That is volume, velocity, and variety, right? So why volume? Definition of volume is refers to the amount of size of the data organizations are dealing with on any given time. So what is the volume data? It can be a big volume. It can be a chunk of volume where we need to use a snowmobile. Okay, so it can be your on-prem database which is loaded with petabytes of data. Okay, and we have to transfer them to AWS using a snowmobile. Snowmobile is something that connects AWS services or AWS cloud to that of your on-prem. Okay, it's just a basic overview. You get a lot more about what snowmobiles are, and how we would be loading on-prem data to AWS. And basically, what we would be doing, we'd be creating our data pipelines on basis of the volume of the data, the volume of the data that we are digging in. Okay, our pipeline structure, our pipeline integration, our resources that of AWS would be using in our pipelines would be based on the gigabytes, the terabytes, the petabytes scale of data we'll be using. So data volume is very important, and you need to know all this, and you need to have a measurement of the data as a good data engineer, as a good data analyst. Velocity, how this big chunks of data are coming in. Can we do batch processing, or can we do analysis on the streaming data? Okay, so it basically refers to the speed at which the new data is generated, collected, or processed. Okay, how we are ingesting the data. Whether should we use AWS Kinesis, or we can do AWS batch processing on this data. So if the data is near real time or real time, there's difference between them. Okay, there's definitely difference between real time data and near real time data. Okay, so we would be using Kinesis host, Kinesis Firehouse, or Kinesis Stream. So Kinesis is something that we would be spending a lot of our time, because not only because that is a big vast topic, just like AWS Glue on AWS Data Engineering, but something that you can expect questions from your recruiters, that from the next role you'll be working on. Okay, and they would be expecting you to be a very good Kinesis engineer, not only AWS data engineer, because there is a lot of work as part of AWS data engineering with Kinesis. And what all this works, how you estimate the velocity of your data, how you can optimize their organizational cost. Okay, cost is a big thing here. Okay, how you can optimize their cost using different various methods present in AWS. So velocity is very important. Okay, variety. Now the data structures that we have talked about, structured data, unstructured data. Okay, based on that, what data sources you'll be using, what data stores you'll be using, where you'll be loading your data, where you'll be extracting your data, differs a lot. Okay, so with variety of those data, either it is structured, what business analyzing we are doing from that data. Okay, and what are the hierarchy of the those structured or unstructured data. Based on that, would be picking up services. Okay, and we'd be picking up data sources, and we'd be picking up our pipeline should be a ETL pipeline, or it should be a ELT pipeline. Based on the variety of the data, we'll be picking that up. So all these aspects differs a lot. All these aspects needs our attention. What a data warehouse is. So first of all, the service as a data warehouse in AWS will be using is Amazon Redshift. Okay, this is a service we will be talking about in future a lot. We'll be almost in all the projects that I am talking about. We'll be using AWS Redshift. Okay, that is very important. So definition of data warehouse, I would say a centralized repository optimized for analysis where data from different sources is stored in a structured format. That is the key. Okay. So all this data that will be adding in here would be in structured format. So mostly while loading the data in a data warehouse, we have already went through a changing of data or a transformation of data. All this ETL process I'm talking about is basically extracting, transforming, and loading the data in a particular data source. Extracting the data from a data source, transforming the data. So making the data more clean, more structured, okay, more transformed. So would be transforming the data, making it structured, and then would be loading it to a warehouse where it can be more optimized, more read heavy. We don't need to do any query, any raw data query in it. It can be a read heavy data. Okay, we can store it in a data warehouse. So the keyword is structured here. Okay, and it is designed for complex queries and analysis. It doesn't require any transformation or cleaning up. Data warehouse we can use for structured data for designing complex queries. Okay, Amazon Redshift is the example and is the only example that we'll be doing. Previously, I have also used Amazon AWS Oracle databases for this data warehouse kind of things, but believe me, they are very complex and very difficult to use. So Amazon Redshift have done all the hard work for you. You just have to know days class or a particular 3 to 4 hours to learn more about Redshift, and we would be implementing Redshift and integrating Redshift in all our ETL projects and all our ETL pipelines. So you'd have a lot of hands-on with Redshift. Okay, and again, for references, Azure SQL data warehouse is similar thing that we do in Microsoft Azure as well. Okay, so in a data warehouse we do, we basically clickstream data. Okay, we basically process all the clickstream data, purchase data, catalog data into a particular data warehouse. From there, we can do our analysis. Suppose all this data, suppose this clickstream data is using the catalog data, and also it is making some correlations, some joins with the purchase data as well. All we need to store them in data warehouse and now do the complex queries. How we can enhance ML as well, machine learning, AI, into this data mart. Okay, so we want to automate a lot of processes. We want to automate a lot of uh, DevOps stuffs as well. Okay, by using ML in this data warehouse, we'll be able to do using complex queries because the data is already clean, the data is already structured. We can do all of this. We don't need to process any raw data. So that is the advantage that data warehouse gives us. We are just making sure that you are getting very briefs of this. We'll be covering all of this in great detail. Okay, don't need to worry about anything. This is just a demo class, and I just didn't want to make this class a pros and cons of the course. I just didn't want to give you an idea of the course what you will be doing, but make you educate about a few topics that you can take out of this 1 hour that you have provided to me. Okay, so data lake. What is a data lake? A storage repository that holds vast amount of raw data. So the raw data comes into the picture of a data lake. You can make it visualize a uncleaned lake. Okay, lake which is not that clean like a warehouse. So raw data would be coming in here in native format, including structured, semi-structured, unstructured. This can be anything. Okay, we won't be giving focus on how we are loading the data and from where it is coming. It just can be coming from anywhere. It can be structured, it can be semi-structured, it can be unstructured. We'd just be storing it. Okay, and it can be stored in large volumes, raw data without any predefined schema. It can be anything. Okay, so data is loaded into these data lakes as is, no need to be pre-processed. It would support mostly batch processing, real-time data, and stream processing. Okay, so who will do this batch processing, and for what will be requiring this database? Okay, so this can be coming out of all the users, their data, their unclean data, their data without any validations, and up from that we can run our queries. Okay, we cannot run very read heavy queries. We cannot run very very complex queries, but what we can do, we don't need to transform this. We can just store them and we can run our AWS Glue and Amazon Athena on that. Mostly the very predefined structure of these pipelines would be using 3 steps: AWS S3, AWS Glue, and AWS Athena. So this pipeline you would be using a lot in coming projects, in coming projects that you will be working after this 3 months in your organization, because this is a typical pipeline that everyone uses. Okay, so S3 is the data lake that we are talking about. So Amazon S3 is a basically it's an object storage. It's a simple object storage service that S3 provides us. It's if anyone of you have worked on Azure, basically this is Azure storage account is particularly similar to Amazon S3, and we'll be having various buckets, various containers in here. Where we'll be storing this raw data, and we'll be using S3 as a data lake and processing the data with help of AWS Glue and Amazon Athena. I would give you give you an overview of what Amazon Athena does. It's a long topic, and we'll be learning a lot about Amazon Athena in this course. Okay. Okay. So comparing the two, basically we know for data warehouse the schema on right, it's a predefined schema before we are writing the data, where we don't need to think about the schema for reading the data from a data lake. We would be making different pipelines, okay, based on whether we are using a data warehouse or we are using a data lake. So for data warehouse, we'll be extracting the data out of a raw data source. We'll be transforming that data, make that clean, and that clean data will be loading into a data warehouse. That is a ETL process. Okay. And for data lakes, would, as we have seen in the previous demo, for that would be mostly a ELT format. We'll be extracting the data out of a simple storage service, that is S3. We'll be transforming that data using AWS Glue. Okay. But that would be coming later. Okay. First, we will be loading the data in Amazon Athena, and then we'll be transforming the data. So that is a different format. That is we call extract, then loading, then transformation. So ELT. Okay. ETL and ELT pipelines are different. You'll have hands-on demo on both of them. Okay. What data types that you'll be using? We have already talked about it. The primarily data warehouses will be using structured data, and data lakes will be using unstructured data. Okay. So we'll be coming to the agility processing and costs later on in the course. It's just an overview that I'm giving. Okay, so choosing a warehouse versus a lake, that is something the recruiters love to ask you based on the scenarios that they would be giving you. I would be assisting you on various of such topics, that how recruiter mindset would be working while the interview process is going on for all this data engineering topics. Okay, all this AWS topics particularly. So when you'll be using a warehouse and versus when you'll be using a data lake, based on hundreds of scenarios that they will be providing. Okay, so based on that, the use cases of warehouse and data lakes would be coming in. I'd be talking about data mesh a little bit, and we'll be creating this data mesh mostly for governance and organization purpose. We would not be using this data mesh typically for any technical overview. Okay. First, we'll create our projects, then we'll be creating this data mesh. So why we would be creating these data meshes? What are the use cases? Okay. So in AWS, basically we have started doing it way more earlier than other cloud providers. Basically, it would be giving reference of your whole data domain out of one data product. Okay. So if a use case wants to use the data product out of a whole data domain, we can give it a particular authorization, a particular IAM role to use that data product, create all of this in a spokes and hubs method. Okay, that would be a complete star method that we'll be using. Okay, so this data mesh concepts are a big yes for any of your interview topics. They will be if so the opportunities slide that I have shown you previously, there was a data architect previously that I've shown you. Okay, so in order to get a role in data architect as a very good beginner data engineer, you need to know all these architectures in AWS, how you'll be fitting up all the AWS services that we will be using in here as a data mesh. Okay, and as a complete overview of the architecture of this data mesh, we'll be talking about this. Okay, so ETL pipelines, I have already given you a definition. I have already given you a visual why you'll be using this ETL pipelines. So basically, ETL stands again for extract, transforming, and load. So you'd be extracting your data out of a source system, which can be a database, a CRM, a flat file, APIs, or anything. Ensure that this data that you are picking up maintains the integrity during the extraction phase. it goes through validations. Okay, so in our data pipeline, in our ETL pipeline, would be setting up all the steps where the pole SCM, the concept in we use this concept in DevOps, where we'll be fetching up the data out of a particular repository, particular branch in a pole SCM format. So similarly, we'll be extracting the data out of a data source in here in the ETL pipeline, and we have to maintain the data integrity by giving it a good cognitive overview, authorization that this data should be taking us through, and authorization as a ETL pipeline owner, I would be taking up this data from which data source, and we would be following up all the validation process. Okay, so we'd be transforming this data. What does transformation means? Basically, it would be cleansing the data, it would be removing duplicates, it would be fixing error. I would coming up to a lineage topic within a few minutes, and we would be picking up all the transformation methods that we would be going through as part of the ETL process with help of AWS Neptune. Okay, we'd be picking up that resource as well. So data enrichment we'll be doing, where we'll be adding up additional data in order to make it way more sample oriented. We'd be formatting the changes into date formatting, string manipulations. These are the particular overviews that I would give you while creating our projects. There would be aggregations, there will be computations, and also we can encode and decode the data in order to make it more secure, more fit in a secure environment as part of the DevSecOps practice as well. Okay, we'll be loading the data into a data warehouse, into maybe some lake houses, into various batch processing streams. Okay, we can take it as a stream as well, whole Kinesis stream, where we'll be picking up the data, extracting the data from a data source. We would be cleaning up the data in a transform manner, and we would be loading it to a particular stream in AWS Kinesis. Okay, so you can see that various topics would be integrated with each another. We would be integrating AWS Glue with Stream. We would be integrating AWS Lambda. I would give you a complete overview about Lambda, uh, Kinesis, Glue, Athena, everything. Okay, I was talking about data lineage. What happens during the process of this whole ETL diagram? Okay, we'll be talking about a visual representation that traces the flow. But we will be talking about how we would be getting this visual representation, and how we can describe our ETL pipeline better to a customer, to a recruiter, to a suppose a engineer is explaining to a principal engineer who would be taking up on the whole project from project idea, what data engineering work that we'll be doing in this project from you. Okay, how data lineage would help us doing this, and a basic spline agent can help you a lot in this data lineage creation. We'd be creating a whole data lineage system from scratch using this Spark spline agent. Okay, and you can see that this is something where we are getting reference from the other services in AWS. So this spline agent is basically a Apache Spark agent that we would be attaching with AWS Glue and making this whole ETL process a visual treat for someone who doesn't know anything about this ETL. Okay, we'd be integrating spline agents with all the AWS Glue catalogs that we'll be using, uh, starting from extracting, transformation to load. Okay, we'll be using Amazon Neptune via Lambda. Okay, so all the spline agents would be giving the data to lineage API, we call it, and the Lambda function then would be producing this data to Amazon Neptune, and this Neptune, what it would do, it would completely give you one visual representation of the whole data lineage system. Okay, so we would do that. There will be a lot of fun doing this. I really find it very likely to represent. Okay, Database performance optimization we will be doing. Okay, this will not be only making pipelines using data pipelines and AWS Glue and ETL. We'll be indexing the data where to avoid full table scan. I'd be giving you a raw data first. Okay, where from where we'll be indexing the data, we'll be partitioning the data, would be doing data compressions as well as part of this transformation process. Okay, as part of this lineage, we will be able to see this indexing, this partitioning, this compression. Okay, so gzip, lzop, this whole all the things that you are seeing are part of Redshift examples. Okay, so we would be seeing this various trade-offs between the compression and speed in Amazon Redshift. Okay, so data samplings also would be doing. Would be doing random sampling where there would be completely random data would be picking up, and we would be utilizing that complete randomness of data. We would be stratifying the samplings, and we would do systematic samplings as well while making this data flow from extract till load. So basically, you'll get a lot of database ideas as well. As part of a data engineer, we need to be an expert on data analysis on DBA as well. Okay, all these processes that I'm talking about in the ends are basically a DBA role guy should know. And as a good data engineer, as a tier 2 data engineer, you need to know all of this. We'll be doing data validation as well. We have to know what data completion is. Suppose there is a table and table of employee salaries, and in this employee salary table, if there is a blank data coming in, it can drag down all of my employee salaries, right? So the data completeness should be there. There should be a particular rating maps. Okay, so if I'm rating some DVD rentals out of 5, and there's something coming out of 10, so this should disrupt all of my consistency. We have to do all these checks. We have to do accuracy checks. We have to do integrity checks. So this way we'd be doing data validations. Okay, so coming into the last 5 minutes of the slides, I would be giving you idea on what in the first few days we would be doing, what projects we would be doing. Okay, as part of our projects, we would be utilizing AWS Glue mainly. As part of AWS Glue, we would be learning what ETL process are. How can we make it fully managed serverless ETL process? That is something, fully managed systems. That is something every recruiter, every interview process would extract out of you. Okay, how have you optimized that process? How have you optimized that ETL process? So what are the core competence of this ETL process? What data crawlers are? How these data crawlers would be taking the data out of these data stores, would be completing that. How would be creating jobs from very scratch and making those jobs execute in the AWS Glue as part of this ETL process. We're seeing all that. Okay, we would be doing kinesis data streaming. I have already talked about what velocity of data can do, can change, can optimize into our data pipelines, right? Why would be using kinesis? Whether we would be using kinesis data streams, kinesis data firehose, or we would do a kinesis data analytics, or we would use every single of one of them in a single AWS data pipeline. Okay, so we would look into the whole infrastructure from that. We'd do a real-time processing. We'll do a real-time project on AWS Kinesis. We would do transformation of all the services using AWS Lambda. This is a whole different topic. How we would be using AWS Lambda. How we would be writing AWS Lambda handlers in Python Boto 3. I would be giving you basic idea about Python Boto 3. I would be giving you idea on how to use it. At least you can get started with Python Boto 3. If any of the other modules you are not using. So AWS Lambda is something we'll be covering in detail. We would be using step functions for this big data pipelines. I would show you what a data pipeline orchestration can mean. How we will be working with AWS EKS, AWS DynamoDB. how we would be implementing AWS EKS Fargate along with big data pipelines. Okay, so microservices would be running in this big data pipelines using step functions. Step functions is something that gives logic, and based on the logic, this Lambda handlers would take you to next steps. And this, from the start to end, you're seeing it would validate your logic and it would take you forward. And a particular step machine would end after all this logic implementation has been completed. We would make a completely automated step machine using AWS step functions. So this is quite fun to do project that we will be working. If anyone asks you about a very beautiful data engineering project that you have done, or a very recent complex project that you have completed, you have troubleshooted, you can give example of this complete process. Okay. We would be working with Amazon Athena, as I have already told you. Amazon Athena is something that we will be using for serverless query analysis services. So we would make it starting from very manual steps. We would make it completely serverless. Or we would make it completely automated, and you would get glimpses of automation engineer, what our automation engineer do in this whole process. Okay, so there'll be a lot of fun using Athena as well. And talking about the services that we'll be using and services we'll be covering, services we will be talking end to end, and I will be giving you basic interviews questions to deep dive projects of all of the services using the integration of the services. Okay, for analytics we'll be using EMR, lake formation, Redshift, Kinesis Glue. So managed streaming we'll be doing using Apache Kafka. So these are the references of outside world data engineering services that we will be working. We'll be working on with Amazon Open Search Service, QuickSight, Athena. All the other app integration service basically will be using SQS and Amazon Managed Workflows, which is again a reference for Apache Airflow. We'll be working with SNS, step functions. Just I have told you about step functions. Okay, so for cloud financial management, these things I've talked with you for financial securities and for cost optimization from the very beginning. We'll be using AWS budgets, AWS Cost Explorer to calculate the budget of this project of data architect that we'll be doing. Okay, we'll be using various compute services starting from EC2 to batch, Lambda. We'll be using containerization. Someone was asking me about whether we would be talking about it, AWS DevOps services as well. Not only AWS DevOps, we'll be talking about DevOps services in a nutshell for all the topics. We'll be talking about ECR, we'll be talking about ECS, we'll be talking about EKS. So this is basically containerization and orchestrating those containers using Kubernetes. We'll be talking about various databases. I'm not going in deep with these databases. We'll be talking about developer tools. Specifically, I'd be working all of my stuffs in AWS Cloud 9 specifically. I'd be working with AWS code commit, code deploy, code pipelines, code build. CDKs you'd have a good overview on. You'd be using AWS CLI as well. For managing and governancing, you'd be mostly using CloudFormation and CloudTrail. I would give you overview about other things as well, how you can use AWS config to integrate your projects with different authorization techniques. For migration and transfer, just now I was talking about how you'd be transforming whole of that on-prem data into AWS. Okay, so we'll be using particular data sync methods for that. We would be using network integrity. Network is something that would be coming vastly in any interviews, whether you are giving AWS DevOps interview or AWS data engineering interview or data analysis interview. They will definitely ask you about VPCs, AWS Virtual Private Cloud, AWS Route 53, AWS networking. How we will be integrating CloudFront with all of the projects that we are doing. Okay, we'll be talking about security. So as a DevSecOps engineer myself also, I have used Amazon Marquee, AWS Sealed, WAF, Secrets Manager. Um, so how we would be having our keys, our secrets inside secret managers, how we would be integrating the our basic data pipelines. We'll be using all of that. KMS, IAM for authorization, and also for storage. So storage would be the first topic that I would be starting up with this whole course. So how we would be using EBS, EFS, Amazon S3. S3 is the very first topic that we would be starting off this whole AWS data engineering journey. Alongside, I'll be working with you on various SQL deep down. There would be a 1,000-foot overview about all the SQL services and all the Python topics that you should know before starting this course. The setup that you need to have in your local for the first 2 or 3 days, we would be working on them only. And based on the requirement of the topic, I would take you through the particular needs of that topic, particular references of things that would be requiring outside AWS data engineering. I'd be taking you through that. So I have talked mostly about why this course you should opt in. Basically, it is your advanced skill development opportunities that we would be providing you, the instructions that we would be providing you, the job references, the job opportunities, the collaborations that Visualpath have with other vendors would be providing you. The hands-on experience in AWS, that is very essential, and with this only you can take it up to the next level by yourself. Okay, you won't need any guidance. Okay, if you get a very good hands-on experience with AWS, so that is very much essential for us. Any of you have any questions to me, please feel free to ask. I'd be more than happy to take them.
This is Sarita. One question. Like after this course completion, can we able to take our data engineer certification? I mean, are we fully prepared by the after the course of after
What
this course?
certification are you talking about? Is it the AWS certified data engineer are you talking
Yes,
about?
yes, yes, yes. AWS.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll be covering most of the topic related to that certification itself, but there will be a little more as well. Okay, so
Ah,
you'll be getting a way lot of hands-on than the actual course represents. Actual exam topics are, and you'll be getting a real-time project as well, wherein the certification demands more of a thorough knowledge base, not much of a hands-on. There will be multiple types of questions. There will be scenario-based questions, but the certification itself is not complete guide for a project-related knowledge. Okay, so you can
yeah, I understand. I understand that. So you'll be like
great,
teaching us in a project wise. But so if we want to have that certification in our CVs or resumes, then it will add on or it'll give a
definitely,
weightage to our
definitely,
CV, right? So that's why I'm
definitely,
asking. So I'm planning to apply for say, this certificate. So will this be
great,
helpful? So like for
absolutely. This will be
thank
helpful for most of the folks joining here. I would really take them through this certification topic so that they also can take up this certification. So that will be really helpful for them as well. Okay.
sure. Are you going to cover any DevOps related topics?
We will be talking about DevOps as well. But as this is not a complete DevOps course, but I'm also working in DevOps tools, DevOps expertise, DevOps projects. So I'll be giving you inputs on DevOps things, specifically on CI/CD parts, on how to make pipelines as a secured way, as a DevSecOps engineer would think about a pipeline, and how you'd be implementing it as a data engineer. We'll be talking about IAC. We'll be talking about infrastructure as code, how your infrastructure should look like, how your infrastructure deployment should be. But we'll not be covering up particular tools and particular workflow of those tools like Terraform. We will not be covering Terraform. Okay, but we'll be giving you idea how AWS Cloud Formation works in reference of Terraform. Okay, we would give you an idea of complete CI/CD overview. We would give you idea of containerization. Okay, we would be giving you idea how AKS works. Okay, how Fargate works. will not go deep dive into containerization or orchestration of those containers. Okay, but would give you a complete idea of all the DevOps related aspects that would be coming in this data engineering course. Okay, but you can ask me anything while you have any idea, or you can make that project better if you think with any other DevOps responsibilities. Okay, fine. Um,
So, outside market, like what about the opportunities versus like AWS data engineering versus Azure data engineering?
your question is basically what is Azure data engineering and AWS data engineering, right?
No, no,
So outside,
opportunities, not opportunities. Like because I'm hearing I'm working as a data engineer.
uh, okay. So basically, I am working in both of them. Okay, I am working with both these cloud providers, and what I can see is these two only, Azure and AWS data engineering opportunities, are quite equivalent. But we have a upper hand on AWS because the services that AWS provides is more efficient and more up to the mark with integrating with other data engineering products. Okay, so integrating with other data engineering products, especially with Apache Kafka, Airflow, all these products, AWS is slightly have a upper hand, and you have more opportunities in the job market with AWS data engineering in India specifically. Okay, so I hope I can give you precise answer. Okay, but I will give you more overview of what services specifically is in demand. Okay, while going through the course in Azure or in AWS, what services are in demand, what particular thing in Azure also you need to learn to have a better overview of particular ETL process. Let's say I would give you on the way. Okay, you'll get receive information on the fly from me.
I just want to ask you one more thing. So,
Sure, Ali, sure.
as because as I told you, that I'm a fresher. So,
Mhm.
because I know a lot of people in the meeting, they already been in the market for quite a long time in IT department. Because I'm a fresher, you think
Got it, got it.
I can?
So is it your
Yeah.
query like would you'd be able to pick it up on what?
I mean, like I want to be a data engineering, but I'm a fresher. Like I
Got
don't.
it.
I
So
have a basic knowledge of Python and SQL.
mhm. I got it completely. So Ali, just tell me one thing. You have been in this demo for 1 hour, right?
Yes.
So is there any resources or any challenges you find it? So anything that you think that I won't be covering up. Let's say I was talking about AWS Glue, right? So was it something that I was taking any reference from the past that you guys know AWS Glue, right? I have already told that we would be picking up one service, and from the basic spelling of it, I would be covering how we would be working with it. What exactly purpose of data pipeline or of data you would be solving? What market scenario this particular service would be coming up to? Okay, I would not be taking up anything from past experiences or my previous knowledge. It would be completely from scratch, and it would be beneficial for each and every one out of here, whether you are a data engineering professional, you are into IT for some time, or you are a complete fresher. You'd get to learn about that particular service of that particular project from very scratch, and that's how we would be learning it. Okay, so that we can teach this same thing to our recruiters or our interviewees or our principal engineer or in a project that I want to get in. Got it? Okay. I hope Ali, I have answered your question.
Is Python even included in this training?
So Python, as I've already referenced, that Python Boto 3 will be using heavily. Boto 3 is basically a module that we would be using our Lambda handlers for. So before that, I would be giving a good overview of Python. But as this is not a Python course, I won't be giving you an end-to-end overview of Python. Um, I would give you a thousand foot overview of all the particular basics that we need to know about Python. Then we would be jumping into Python Boto 3 basics. Then we would be implementing Python into Lambda handlers. So it would be more of a Python use case than a Python end-to-end tutorial. So that's it from my end. Thank you guys. Hope to see each and every one of you in person in the upcoming classes. Thank you so much.